Okay, get ready, because on January 1st, 2028, a huge change is coming that will impact every single product you ship across a border. It's called HS 2028, and it's a mandatory global update to the Harmonized System, the universal language for classifying goods. If you're not prepared, it could seriously cost you. So, in this explainer, we're going to give you the roadmap you need to navigate these changes and come out ahead.
So what's the actual timeline here? When does all this stuff get locked in? That's the big question for every logistics and supply chain manager out there, right? There's a lot of chatter, a lot of confusion, but the good news is we have the answer. We're about to cut through all that noise and give you the exact timeline you need to start your planning today. And you really have to understand, this is not just some simple software update for your customs team. Think of it more like a chain reaction. A single change to one product's classification code can set off this cascade of issues across your entire organization. We're talking from your legal department all the way to your sales team. Underestimating this is a massive risk.
All right, so where do those ripples actually go? Let's take a closer look at just how wide this effect really is.
Just imagine for a second, a simple code change suddenly means you're paying a 10% higher tariff on every single unit you import. Ouch. Or what if that change invalidates your product's rules of origin? That could mean you no longer qualify for a free trade agreement that saves your company millions a year. This isn't just a customs problem. This hits your bottom line, your data integrity, even your legal contracts. This is a C-suite level issue, for sure. So how does this all even happen? Well, to build a solid plan, you've got to understand the process. The best way to think about it is like how a bill becomes a law. There's this long, formal process run by the World Customs Organization that happens way behind the scenes before any of these changes become final.
It really happens in three main stages. First, you've got the technical experts in the committee, and they draft all the changes. Then, the WCO Council gives it the official thumbs up and recommends it to the world. And finally, and this is key, every member country gets a 6-month window to object. If that window closes without any major pushback, the changes are officially set in stone.
And because of that process, we have an official master timeline for the next few years. These are the dates you absolutely need to circle on your calendar. Okay, let's break this down because these dates are critical. The first one to watch is June 2025. That's when the WCO makes its formal recommendation, and that's what starts the clock. Then, in January 2026, they'll publish the final official version of the new rules. This is your green light. This is the moment you can really start digging into the details and mapping your products. And it all leads up to the big day, January 1st, 2028. That's when the new rules go live, everywhere, no exceptions. Okay, so how do you actually get from the old codes to the new ones? That's where something called the correlation tables come into play. Honestly, you should think of them as the Rosetta Stone for global trade. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The World Customs Organization itself says these tables are, quote, essential tools. In other words, you really can't manage this transition properly without them. They're your official guide for mapping the old world to the new one.
Now, here's a really important point that trips a lot of people up. These tables are not technically legally binding. The only thing that truly matters in a legal dispute is the official tariff book itself. But in the real world, for your day-to-day operations, these tables are your Bible. You simply can't navigate the complexity of this whole changeover without them.
So when can you finally get your hands on these tables? Well, if we look at what happened last time with the 2022 update, we expect them to be released around November 2026. That gives you about 14 months to get all your ducks in a row before the new rules go live.
But this is where things can get a little tricky. There's a huge difference between the international rules and how they're actually put into practice in each country. We call this the local gap, and it's where a lot of companies get into some pretty serious trouble if they're not careful.
You see, the WCO and its correlation tables, they only deal with the first 6 digits of a product code. That's the international standard. But when you actually go to file a customs declaration, you're using a much longer, more detailed code, one that's specific to each country. And that's where things can get messy and where you can run into some big, unexpected problems. And this slide just shows you how fast things start moving at the national level. Just look at the US. They're already planning to release their own proposed national changes in February 2026. That's just 1 month after the WCO publishes the international rules. That means you have to be paying super close attention to what's happening in every single country where you do business. So the big question is, what do you do with all this? How do you actually turn this information into a real strategy? Let's walk through a simple 3-phase action plan that will get you ready for HS 2028. Okay, Phase 1. This starts in 2026, and it's all about getting your own house in order. First thing you need to do is create a master list of all your products and their current codes. Then you've got to figure out which of your products are most likely to be affected by these changes. And critically, you need to decide who in your company gets to make the final call on the new classifications.
Next up is Phase 2, in 2027. This is when you start looking outward. You'll be tracking the new rules as they get published in all the different countries where you operate. You'll need to figure out how these changes will actually impact your bottom line, and then you'll have to start the heavy lifting of updating your ERP and other big systems to handle all these new codes.
And finally, Phase 3, in late 2027, is all about the final countdown. You absolutely need a rock-solid plan for all the goods that will literally be on a boat or a plane when the clock strikes midnight. You'll need to train your teams, and you have to make sure all of your partners, your brokers, your forwarders, are all on the same page.
So there you have it, the complete roadmap for navigating the HS 2028 changes. We've laid out the timeline, the risks, and the three-phase plan you need to get ready. The clock is ticking, and January 1st, 2028 is going to be here before you know it. The only question left is, will your action plan be ready?